Mom, we need to escape. Dad's going to kill us. Right now.
At midnight, my 6-year-old daughter suddenly woke me up, screaming. What's going on? As she recounted her story, I trembled in fear. You see, my daughter possesses a mysterious power. So, we hurried to escape through the back door, but before us stood my husband, who had already anticipated our move. And then we were subdued and forced into the car. It's over now. I squeezed my daughter's hand tightly, bracing for the worst. I'm Nancy, 34 years old. I got married when I was 26, 8 years ago. My partner was Jason, 6 years older than me, a senior colleague at the same company who was assigned as my mentor when I joined the accounting department.
Nancy, you're so lucky to have snagged someone as wonderful as Jason.
Capable at work and with a pleasant demeanor, he was relied upon by everyone at the company. I resigned from my job when we got married and started looking for part-time work near our home.
Since you're just doing part-time work, I expect you to take care of the household properly. Being busy is just an excuse.
After living together, I realized there was a stark difference between the husband at work and the one at home. The sociable and kind Jason seemed to have no regard for me at home, showing neither kindness nor consideration, as if he didn't care about the fish he'd caught. It was during one of those times when I suddenly fell ill and had a fever. Feeling too weak to move, I couldn't bring myself to tell my husband about my condition.
Hey, why haven't you prepared dinner?
As soon as Jason came home, he shouted at me lying on the living room couch. I'm sorry. I have a fever. I went to the hospital, but it hasn't gone down yet. I hate to ask, but could you please get something simple for me?
Handling household chores is your job, Nancy. It's ridiculous to ask me for things when I come home from work.
Even in such moments, he didn't show any concern for me and instead forcibly woke me up.
Come on, hurry up.
Okay. Unable to rebel against my husband in this situation, I staggered into the kitchen. Despite my condition, I managed to prepare something, but it seemed he didn't like the taste.
I can't eat this. I'll grab something outside.
Jason dumped all the food I made onto the table, grabbed only his phone and wallet, and left. I certainly felt anger towards my selfish husband, but with the fever clouding my mind, I couldn't dwell on it. Despite Jason's continued arrogance, as long as I was careful, he didn't say much. Maybe this is what marriage is about, navigating and compromising with each other. I convinced myself of this and carried on with each passing day. 2 years into our marriage, our daughter Amy was born. While my husband seemed fond of her and would help with childcare when asked, he never took the initiative to do anything on his own. To make matters worse, around her first birthday, Amy started becoming shy around people other than me and would cry heavily. Jason, who had little time with her at home, was no exception.
Why does she cry? Even me, her dad.
It seems like she's going through that phase right now. She'll calm down in a little while.
Isn't it your fault for not raising her properly?
Blaming it all on me, he stopped participating in childcare and his interest in our daughter waned. As time went by, our daughter Amy turned 3 and started saying odd things occasionally.
Mom, be careful, you might fall down the stairs with a big thud.
Not understanding what she meant, I brushed it off. However, a few hours later, while carrying a heavy load, I missed the last 2 steps of the staircase, landing hard on my backside. Ouch!
Mom, are you okay? See, that's why I told you.
While I watched my daughter, who seemed both worried and proud as she placed her hand on my back, I brushed it off as mere coincidence. However, she continued to exhibit this mysterious power, warning me of danger or bringing good news, but only concerning me. I tried telling my husband about it, but his lack of interest in Amy made him skeptical. I should stop talking about this. Thanks to my daughter's ability, we enjoyed safe and peaceful days. However, when Amy turned 6, I began to feel that something was off about Jason. He was always preoccupied with his phone, quickly leaving whenever he received a call. As a result, he spent more time locked in his room. But that wasn't the only reason I found his behavior strange.
I bought these popular sweets that were on TV the other day. Have some.
I was puzzled by Jason's sudden kindness, reminiscent of our time dating. Is he having an affair? I considered that his newfound kindness might be related to that, so while my husband was at work, I decided to search his room. But I didn't find anything particularly suspicious. After much deliberation, I decided to check Jason's phone while he slept, only to find it unlocked, which was anticlimactic. Nothing there. Is he deleting everything? Determined to get to the bottom of things, I discreetly installed a GPS app to monitor his movements. I thought this would provide some answers, but he usually just went straight home after work, without any detours. Was I just overthinking it? Although I was curious, I decided to stop investigating further at that time. It was a summer night, sometime later, when everything unfolded.
Mom, Dad's going to kill us. We need to run away right now.
In the dead of night, Amy suddenly screamed, shaking me awake. What's going on? Though I could sense it was serious from her demeanor, when I heard the story from my daughter, I trembled in fear. Believing Amy, I started preparing to escape and was about to leave through the back door when it happened.
Where are you going?
Blocking our path, my husband stood in front of us like a sentinel. Without a word, he forcefully pushed us into the car and bound our hands with ropes. Then, he took the driver's seat and started the car. Hey, where are you taking us? Jason only occasionally glanced at us through the rearview mirror and didn't respond to my questions. I could barely make out his murmurs, but they were audible enough. He drove for a while until we reached what seemed like a deserted port, with no streetlights around.
Nancy, thank you for everything. Because of you, everything's resolved. I can start over.
In the darkness, I could barely see my husband's eerie smile through the rearview mirror. What do you mean? What are you planning to do with us? But Jason ignored my questions, got out of the car, and disappeared into the darkness. I wanted to get out of the car, but with my hands bound, I couldn't move. As I struggled, the car began to move slowly and eventually plunged into the sea. Panic-stricken, I desperately wriggled until, by luck, I managed to loosen the ropes around my wrists and, along with my daughter, escaped from the car. We climbed out of the sea, making sure not to be seen by my husband, and found shelter in a nearby hut. Amy was trembling with fear, but I comforted her, relieved that we were safe. I'm so glad we're okay. Taking a moment to breathe and collect myself, tears welled up in my eyes from the overwhelming fear. How did this suddenly happen? Though I knew we should go to the police, something about Jason's muttered words lingered in my mind. Since my phone was still working, I decided to call my parents.
Nancy? Just got a call from Jason saying you and Amy are missing.
That's a lie. He tried to kill us.
What? But Jason.
I didn't know how my husband had explained the situation, but my parents didn't seem to fully believe me. What should I do? feeling despair. I couldn't give up here. Anyway, I'm coming over there right now. Don't tell Jason about my call.
Oh, okay. I'll come to get you. Just wait.
Feeling the urgency in my voice, my father agreed. After hanging up, as I let out a deep sigh, my daughter squeezed my hand tightly.
Mom, you'll be okay now. There will be lots of happy things ahead. We'll be happy.
Thank you, Amy. My daughter's words gave me courage and I rallied myself. About an hour later, my parents arrived to pick us up.
You're soaking wet. Hurry. Get in the car.
Seeing us drenched, my mother embraced us, seeming to believe what we had told her over the phone.
Let's go to the police. This is a serious matter.
While driving, my father glanced at me through the mirror with a stern expression. I know that's the best course of action. But he might talk his way out of it, and I want to gather some evidence before going to the police.
If Jason finds out you're alive, he might come after you again. Think about Amy.
Though I understood the logic behind his words, I pleaded with my parents to keep quiet until we had enough evidence. We'll make sure to protect my daughter. Please, trust me. After convincing my parents, my daughter and I decided to stay at a business hotel near my parents' house to lay low. As the long night turned into morning, sunlight streamed in through the window. All right, I need to stay strong. I decided to leave my daughter with my mother at the hotel and, after confirming that my husband had gone to work using the GPS app, I returned home. It was to search through his room again, to find more clues. I also made a call to someone else to investigate Jason further. As one shocking fact after another emerged, I couldn't hide my surprise, but at the same time, an indescribable anger surged within me, and I resolved to seek revenge on my husband. 3 days later, I left my daughter with my mother and waited outside Jason's workplace, timing it with his departure.
Nancy? What are you doing here?
As my husband came out of the office, he seemed quite surprised to see me, rubbing his eyes repeatedly as he looked at me. Is he thinking I'm a ghost or something? Gradually, Jason approached me.
Hey, Nancy?
At that moment, Emma, my closest colleague when I worked at this company, approached from behind my husband. She still worked in the same accounting department as him.
Where have you been? Jason told us you disappeared with your child, and we were worried about you.
Emma hugged me tightly and whispered,
I'm so glad.
and said,
Jason, you must feel relieved now. You've been so anxious.
Yeah, that's right.
My husband still seemed bewildered, only responding in a daze.
Hey, why don't we grab some tea since we're all here? It might be easier to talk without just the two of you.
Good idea. I want to catch up with Emma too. What do you say, honey?
Yeah, of course.
Following her suggestion, we relocated to a nearby cafe. Inside, there were people in suits and groups of housewives, creating a bustling atmosphere. At that moment, my husband's phone rang, and he excused himself from the table. When he returned a few minutes later, his face seemed paler than before. What's wrong? Who was it?
It was the police. They found our car in the sea.
Normally, he wouldn't disclose who he was talking to on the phone, but perhaps he was shaken because he started to share bits and pieces of information.
What? Found in the sea? What does that mean?
Emma's expression was a mix of curiosity and concern as she asked. But my husband remained silent.
It's complicated.
I see.
With just that muttered response, she excused herself, saying,
Oh, I have to make a phone call, and left the cafe.
A brief silence fell between my husband and me as we sat facing each other. Then, my husband broke the tension.
Well, I'm just glad everyone's safe.
With a rather forced smile, he looked at me. He tried to make excuses and smooth things over, but I wasn't buying it. Why did you do something like that when you never even thought about it? Why? As I stared straight at Jason, he instinctively looked down, falling silent. That's when I pulled out a few papers from my bag and laid them out on the table.
What's that?
If you won't say anything, then I'll tell you everything. The items I laid out included a loan agreement in Jason's name from a suspicious source, my life insurance policy, and copies of my husband's notebook. Jason seemed quite surprised, his eyes widening as he glanced around.
When did you get these?
Ignoring his question, I slid the copies of the notebook in front of him. As he peered at them, his mouth tightened into a thin line. What are these numbers?
I, don't remember.
Isn't this the amount embezzled from the company? Indeed, the pages detailed monthly dates over the past 10 years since my husband joined the accounting department, each accompanied by a corresponding amount.
You can't just assume things without evidence. It's not something you just throw around.
He slammed the table in anger. Just then, Emma returned to the table and chimed in.
I think it's the amount Jason embezzled from the company.
Emma? What are you talking about?
The truth is, I couldn't shake off my curiosity about what he muttered to himself in the car before we plunged into the sea. Something about the company and debts. After examining the notebook I found in my husband's room, I contacted my former colleague Emma, thinking there might be something to it. She revealed,
There are rumors circulating among the higher-ups that Jason has been embezzling company funds.
Furthermore, she disclosed that she had been discreetly investigating the matter at the request of the finance director. I decided to meet with Emma and handed her copies of the notebook.
When comparing the data from past records, the numbers in this notebook match up.
Are you two in cahoots? Trying to frame me?
Don't say such slanderous things. After all, this is all true, isn't it? I had confided everything to her and conveyed that I was considering repercussions against him. Sensing it might be risky for us to be alone, she volunteered to be present and play along, pretending she knew nothing about the situation.
Hey, come on, take a good look here. I've already paid it all back, so there shouldn't be any problem.
Jason pointed to the last page of the copies, trying to defend himself. It seemed he had realized he was on the verge of being caught by the company and had been gradually adjusting the numbers while repaying. Even if you've paid it back, what you did can't be erased, and it's a crime.
Exactly. Why did you do something like this?
Well, I needed the money.
As he began to explain his reasons, both Emma and I couldn't help but exchange incredulous looks and sigh simultaneously. It turned out he had squandered the company's money on Hooters, buying luxury items for the girls who worked there.
I think this matter has already been reported to the higher-ups by the department head.
Emma, after all I've done for you as a senior, you're betraying me like this? Aren't you grateful for anything?
This time, he suddenly began to get angry, directing his anger towards Emma. The other customers and employees in the store seemed to be interested in our conversation, as the lively atmosphere from when we entered had disappeared, and they were now listening intently. Enough already. It's not all your fault.
What did you say? After paying the bills, I barely have any money left for myself.
Just because of that, it doesn't justify dipping into the company's funds. Moreover, you were borrowing money to cover up the embezzled amount, right? This time, I fluttered the loan agreement in front of my husband.
Well, that's...
Upon examining the company name written on it, it wasn't a bank but rather a rather suspicious money lender. This company seems to have really high interest rates. So, you were backed into a corner and had no other choice, right? Jason must have hit a nerve. He gritted his teeth and fell silent. And so, you were planning to make me disappear and collect the insurance money. Is that it? I confronted him with the life insurance certificate. He seemed to be sweating profusely, perhaps feeling the pressure.
No, that wasn't my intention. Please believe me.
Both Amy and I were almost killed by you. What am I supposed to believe?
I just wanted to take a break, stepped out of the car for a moment, and next thing I knew, the car was in the sea.
Jason gestured wildly, trying desperately to persuade me. If that's the case, why didn't you call for help right away? When I snapped back, he didn't have anything more to say. Everyone in the room seemed to be watching our exchange, and the store was eerily quiet, with only the faint music playing in the background.
It was supposed to be completely fine. Everything was going according to plan.
He began pounding the table vigorously. All of this, it's all because of Amy's mysterious power.
Huh? Power? Was that real?
In fact, when my daughter told me to run away,
We will dive into the sea with the car.
I was informed about that. With that in mind, I prepared for the worst, keeping a hammer in my bag to break the car window and putting my phone in a waterproof bag. I remembered that escape method from watching TV before. Well, being tied up was unexpected, but I'm glad we made it in time.
Damn it.
If we were found deceased and tied up, wouldn't you have thought the police would suspect something? Money was the only thing on your mind anyway, wasn't it? He must have thought it was a perfect plan indeed. My husband couldn't help but let out a sound.
There's no news of your discovery, so of course I won't get any insurance money. It's a disaster.
Jason drank the water in front of him in one gulp and let out a big sigh. We're going to the police together.
Please don't do that. You've been saved, isn't that enough?
He deflected, stood up from his chair, and tried to leave. I can't forgive you for putting Amy in danger. Oh, before you go to the police, sign this, I said, thrusting the completed divorce papers toward my husband, who looked as if he'd been hit by a ton of bricks. Did he still think we could live as a family in this situation?
We're not getting divorced. Just help me repay the money I borrowed from the loan shark. And, Nancy, take out a loan in your name for me.
Jason pleaded while saying something outrageous. That's impossible.
Don't push your luck. A wife who doesn't help her husband when he's in trouble is unthinkable.
Then, he got angry and tried to raise his hand at me. However, a businessman-looking customer sitting behind Jason instinctively grabbed his hand, preventing him from doing so.
Cut it out. And who are you anyway? Outsiders should mind their own business.
Jason resisted, but with some employees and other customers joining in, he was immobilized. At that moment, the distant wail of a police siren came to a stop in front of the store. It turned out that when my former colleague Emma left her seat, she had reported it to the police.
Why the police? Nancy, please, help me.
This time, he shed genuine tears and literally begged. Reflect deeply from the bottom of your heart, and atone for your sins. As I pushed him away, he broke down in tears right there, whimpering loudly. Later, my husband was escorted by the police who arrived at the store, and after being questioned, he was arrested. He received a prison sentence for this incident and will be living behind bars for the foreseeable future. Of course, we divorced, and we decided to claim compensation for the mental anguish my daughter and I suffered. While the exact amount is still being discussed with our lawyer, considering the danger we faced, it's likely to be substantial. The debt my husband borrowed from shady sources was apparently repaid by my parents-in-law. They promised to recover the advance money, so even if he comes out of prison, he faces a long and arduous road ahead, filled with thorns. After that, my daughter's mysterious power vanished without a trace. Perhaps it had served its purpose in protecting me. I moved with Amy near my parents' house and started working as a full-time employee. I hold on to the words my daughter told me back then.
From now on, you'll have lots of fun and be happy.
With those words as my guiding light, I walk forward with optimism.